America was not built by accident. It was built by those who learned early on to be trustworthy, to be loyal, to help others, to be brave, not because it was easy, but because it was right. For 250 years, this nation has called on its citizens to serve something larger than themselves. And for more than 100 of those years, the Scout Oath has been preparing them to answer. This is our story. In 1909, a Chicago newspaper publisher named William D. Boyce was lost in London. A young scout found him, guided him to his destination, and when Boyce offered a tip, the boy refused. "I'm a scout," he said. "I don't accept a payment for good turn." Boyce didn't know what a scout was. He found out, and on February 8, 1910, William Dixon Boyce incorporated the Boy Scouts of America, setting in motion a movement that would shape more than 130 million young Americans over the next century. One act of service, one honest boy, and an entire nation changed. Some people give their time to scouting. Some give their talent. Wade Phillips gave 127,000 acres. An Oklahoma oil man who made his fortune in Tulsa, Phillips had one of the great private ranches in America, 300,000 acres in the mountains of New Mexico. In 1938, he donated the land that would become Philmont Scout Ranch, along with a skyscraper in Tulsa to fund its operations. His only condition, that it be used for the benefit of scouts. More than 1 million young people have since hiked Philmont's trails, slept under its stars, and carried home a piece of something that no merit badge can fully capture. He got his first job in scouting at the age of 19 as an art editor of Boy's Life magazine. Norman Rockwell would go on to become the most beloved visual storyteller in American history. And for 64 years, he never stopped painting scouts. 51 annual calendar paintings, 65 works in total. He once said, in scouting he found his subject, in America he found his canvas, and in his paintings generations of scouts found themselves. Before the marches, before the speeches, before the dream was ever spoken aloud in Washington, Martin Luther King Jr. was a Boy Scout. From age 11 to 13, he was a registered member of Troop 151 in Atlanta, Georgia. The troop met at Ebenezer Baptist Church, the same church where his father preached and where King himself would one day stand. The Scout Law asks that a scout be just, be kind, and be courteous. King didn't just memorize those words, he built a movement on them. The Scout Law says a scout is brave. Guion Bluford knew something about that. As the first African American to travel to space, he carried with him not just the hopes of a generation, but the quiet confidence of a young man who had already learned that preparation and character open doors that circumstance tries to close. Eagle Scout, fighter pilot, astronaut, in that order. In 1947, a boy from Wapakoneta, Ohio, earned his Eagle Scout rank. He was quiet, disciplined, and relentlessly curious. The kind of young man who looked up at the sky and didn't just wonder, he planned. 22 years later, Neil Armstrong placed his footprint on the surface of the moon and spoke 11 words the entire world would never forget. He was 14 years old, a scout in Troop 294 in Scottsdale, Arizona, when he pointed a camera at his fellow scouts and made a short Western film, hoping it would count toward a merit badge in photography. Steven Spielberg would go on to arguably become the greatest film director in history. Eagle Scout, Oscar winner, but scouting gave him confidence, the camera gave him a voice, and the world has never been the same. Not every scout ends up on the moon. Some end up on the big screen. Jack Black has spent his entire career making people laugh, making people feel something, and reminding us that joy is a form of service too. The Scout Oath doesn't ask you to be famous. It asks you to be helpful, to be kind, and to keep other people in mind. When he was cut from his high school varsity team, he could have quit. He didn't. Michael Jordan was a scout in his youth and would go on to become one, if not the greatest basketball player the world has ever seen. Not because of talent alone, but because of something scouts know well, The only way to get better is to keep showing up. At age 11, Gitanjali Rao invented a device to detect lead in drinking water, inspired by the Flint, Michigan water crisis. By 15, she had developed tools to combat cyberbullying and detect early signs of opioid addiction. As STEM Scout, Gitanjali Rao became the first person ever named Time Magazine's Kid of the Year. Not because she was born with unusual gifts, but because someone taught her early that knowledge carries a responsibility to act. Scouts serve, scientists discover. She decided to do both. An unknown boy on a foggy street, an oil man who gave away a mountain, a scout who dreamed of equality, two men who touched the stars, a director who made the world believe, a man who celebrates hard work, an athlete who refused to quit, a young inventor who chose to act, and an Oklahoma man who led it all of them shaped by the same oath, the same law, the same belief that who you become in quiet moments when no one is watching is who exactly you will be when the whole world is. America turns 250 this year. Scouts have been helping build it for more than 100 of them. The next 100 years start with you tonight.